And to kick things off, we've got a very, very special lady. I have only known Marsha for a few years now, and I can tell you that when it comes to community involvement and really walking the walk, not just talking the talk, this lady does. And I'm proud to call her my friend, but it's Marsha Wallace from the Economic Development Department at Empire Electric, and I thank you for being here. Give her a big hand. Thanks, Marsha.
I haven't caught him up to speed yet. We're now the Business and Community Development Department, which makes all of our jobs a little more in-depth with each of our communities. And if any of you don't know Empire, we are the electric company serving this region. We're headquartered in Joplin, and Brent will tell you more about that. But I am the president of the Workforce Investment Board of Southwest Missouri, and I've been involved with this board for 5 years? Seems longer. Has nothing to do with Bubba. Anyway, and I'm also involved with the Joplin Regional Prosperity Initiative and Secretary of the Joplin Regional Partnership. That means that everything I do revolves around making this community better, making all of your employees stronger, and your companies more active. So anytime I can help you in any way, please call me. And I know that today is going to be very worthwhile for you. If, just as Bubba said, if at any time you have any questions or concern, don't be shy. If you don't want to holler out right up here to whoever's at the speak with the microphone, grab one of us that'll be roaming around in the back. Those four are all staff. There are more staff. There's two more here. This is one of the best staffs I've ever worked with, ever. And as Bubba says, I kind of don't ever say no to anything. But they are remarkable. You will enjoy today, and we need to thank them for all that they do for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Marsha. All right. Well, and again, we want to thank all of our exhibitors for being here, and we want to say a special thank you to our sponsors. So if I mention your company, if you are here, please stand up. We'd like to give you a round of applause also. We have WGU Missouri. They are our title sponsor. And I know Dr. Angie Bessendorfer is here. There she is. She will be speaking later today. Thank you very much. And again, without the support of these sponsors, we do a few events here, Job Fest, Drive-Through Job Fest, and of course the Heartland Summit. Without these sponsors, this wouldn't happen. We definitely wouldn't be where we're at today. So thank you very, very much. Also, of course, Empire Electric. We want to thank you so much. Stand up, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And, of course, we've got our friends at the Joplin Regional Partnership Initiative, Mr. Mark Turnbull and crew. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And our good friends at Missouri Enterprise. Where'd Tracy go? Here she is. Thank you so much. And of course, you guys, some of you wouldn't be here if you didn't hear it from our broadcasters. So all of our KSN, KODE, Fox, and KOAM, we thank them for all their support. And of course, our group at AMI. They have 7 stations that also helped us support this group. So thank them and Downstream Casino for making this possible. Well, our first speaker, I'll just tell you a little bit about the company before he comes up and we do this drawing real quick. Blue Buffalo, some of you may have heard of Blue Buffalo or Heartland Pet Products. It's a very, very interesting story, but he'll tell you more about it. I think the main thing that we're excited about is how excited they were about our community. With no further ado, again, Blue Buffalo, just an amazing story, and we're very, very grateful that they're a part of this conference today. And I'd like to introduce to you one of the plant managers. His name is Todd, and he's going to tell us about the Blue Buffalo story.
Well, thank you for having us today. As mentioned, on behalf of all my colleagues at Blue Buffalo, we're extremely excited to be in the community. And we're very happy to be here today and have an opportunity to talk to you a little bit about what's happening at our new facility. Of course, we're just out in the Joplin Industrial Park out off 32nd Street out there. And so we're getting close. We're getting close to opening. So with that, once again, I also want to extend thanks to the community. The community's been just terrific so far in terms of welcoming us to the community, helping us with staffing, and so on and so forth. So but I'll get into the details here a little bit. I believe in a real informal format, so at any point in time, any questions, anything at all, please jump in, and I'd be happy to try to answer. But with that, we can go ahead and go to the introduction. Of course, my team, we're building our team right now at the Heartland plant, and we can go ahead and, you know what, let me go through. Let me tell you a little bit about Heartland first, the first slide. We are a subsidiary, so Heartland is a 100% owned Blue Buffalo subsidiary. It is the first ever manufacturing site within Blue Buffalo, and I will get into this, but basically what's happened is we've gone through the co-manufacturing network for years, and we're actually at a point where we're actually exhausting our supply. There's no more co-manufacturing capacity left, so we're in a situation where to continue our growth, we had to build a plant. And you know, to kind of give a little bit of background on that, we've had 12 years, we're about a 12-year-old company, and this year we're going to go over $1 billion in sales. So we are really hitting the ground running, and we are really growing. So that's what we're excited about. The facility that we're building here in Joplin is going to be based on we're going to produce our top-selling diets. So you're going to see, for us, it's going to be our 21 top-selling dry dog diets at this point. And you know, we're also going to have a large-scale warehouse capable of being a full distribution center as well. So that's also going to be the other piece. My team, next slide, please. My team, of course, it's me, Todd. You know, I'm the plant manager. We've got Greg Margison, who's relocated to the area. He's my assistant plant manager. Greg and I worked together with Nestle Purina for a lot of years, and we worked together down at the Atlanta, Georgia plant. Rhonda Berkey, who is here, is from the area, is our human resource manager. Dennis Ellis is also relocating to the area from the Philadelphia area. He's coming in as our quality assurance manager. Nick Henderson is our environmental health and safety manager. He recently joined the company. He's been previously with Lazy Boy down in Neosho. We've hired Terry Olson as our IT infrastructure engineer. He's coming to us from Hubble Electronics out of Centralia, Missouri, so he is moving to the area, but within Missouri. And then I've still got a couple positions open on the staff. We've got a controller position that we're going to be looking for, and then we also have a distribution center manager that we're looking for. Next slide. Blue Buffalo, real quickly, is a Connecticut-based company. All of our leadership resides, for the most part, in Connecticut. We do have a few of our leadership members are based out of the Phoenix, Arizona area, because PetSmart is such a large part of our business. PetSmart's by far our biggest customer. Next slide. Now we can go right into the start. So the history of the company is really pretty interesting. Bill Bishop, our founder, he actually is a big-time Manhattan ad executive. He's worked in advertising for years, and he actually got into became an entrepreneur kind of late in life. He didn't start until in his 50s, and he started a company called Sobe. And Sobe is that beverage that you may see in convenience stores and so on. It has a lizard on the bottle, kind of unique flavors. They developed that, and in fact, they said it really didn't take off until they put that lizard on the bottle. Once the lizard got on the bottle, it started to sell, and they eventually sold that to Pepsi, and they sold it for a lot of money. So they did really good on that one. And what happened was, so they were sitting around, they had a lot of money, and they had they had this dog, and that's a picture of our founder, Blue. There really is a dog named Blue. An Airedale that the Bishops had, and that dog was having some problems with fighting cancer. And you know, as it was fighting cancer, they started looking at the pet food aisle, and they started paying attention to what the veterinarian was telling them, and they started realizing there really weren't that many. And they started looking at what's really on the bag. You know, what's really on the bag, and what are the ingredients that are in that bag? And they started to realize that there's a lot of stuff on that bag and on that label that that really isn't, you know, what you probably would feed if you were aware of it. You know, you wouldn't feed yourself that way, and you wouldn't feed your animal that way. And most people, you know, pets, and I don't know how many of you all have pets. And you know, well, we got a few we got to work on. But most people that have pets, I think it's becoming more and more common, the humanization of pets. You know, quite honestly, they treat you better than your family, usually. You know, they come up, they always greet you at the door, and most people take very good care of their pets. And so there was nothing out there. So Bill, being an entrepreneur, being a marketer, being a salesperson, he realized that there was a niche in the market. And what he did is he came up with this concept with his sons, Billy Bishop and Chris Bishop, who are still with the company. Billy Bishop is our Chief Operating Officer, and Chris Bishop is our Senior Vice President in charge of marketing and creativity. They came up with the concept of a more natural-based, healthy ingredient pet food. And they went into PetSmart. And they got an opportunity to sit into PetSmart. They hadn't made any product. They hadn't figured out what the formula would be. They didn't really know anything about pet food nutrition other than they had an idea. They went into PetSmart and PetSmart bought it. And they went in February and they wanted it on the shelves by May. And they were going to do I think it was 500 stores. It might have been 50 stores. You know, that's a big difference in numbers, but it's somewhere in that range, somewhere between 50 and 500 stores. I round a lot. So anyway, somewhere between that many stores, they had to come up with this pet food fast, and so they quickly realized that they had to go out into the co-manufacturing network. They had to get some help. And they got some product and they went to market that fast. And they learned, you know, they had to immediately, and it took off. Now the cat food they had problems with right away because cats are very particular on shape of product and the shape. So not only does it taste good and all that, but they're very particular about shape. And the Bishops made the wrong type of shape, and they had to pull that product off the market immediately because it wasn't selling. They had to restart over. But long story short, this thing started taking off, and before you know it was in all the PetSmart stores. Petco came on shortly thereafter, and you know, you can kind of see right here, you know, this is a little bit of the roots. You know, the place, Blue Buffalo started in a barn in Connecticut, Wilton, Connecticut, and the Buff was born. So now we can go to the next slide. One of the traits that we talk about at Blue Buffalo, and we're taught this fairly early. By the way, I've been with Blue Buffalo for almost a year now. We are not employees, we are herd members. So we're the herd, and that's what we're told, and so we quickly become indoctrined. We go through a brainwashing, and now we're herd members. And one of the things that our herd members share a lot of characteristics. We have an insane work ethic. We have no regard for privacy. As you can see in these pictures, we don't spend a lot of time on offices. Even now, our offices probably aren't as impressive as a lot of companies' offices. We don't focus on that. And then we believe in what we're doing. And we have a belief in the Buff. And fortunately for us, it's an environment where the Bishops believe in, you know, you spend a lot of time at work, and they believe that work should be fun. And they value us as herd members, and so far so good. And we're trying real hard to carry that into the Joplin area. I know that's Rhonda and I's biggest challenge as we start this facility, is how do we maintain that same type of culture. And that to me is the most important thing we're working on out there, is keeping a culture where people enjoy coming to work and where we value them, treat them with respect, and hopefully they'll become big contributors to the herd is what our goal is. So anyway, next slide. So how this, another unique thing, you know, lots of unique things on Blue Buffalo. And this blows my mind because I've been in pet food since 1988. And, you know, when I started with Purina, you know, one of the things, and Purina was, you know, Purina still is huge, okay? But Purina was grocery store based, and grocery store, and, you know, we were always mad because Hills came along, and I met someone today that worked with Hills, and Hills came along and created a category where, you know, it was through the vets. And obviously they realized, hey, if you get to the vets and you get the vets recommending the diet, that all of a sudden that might be what pet parents continue to feed. And so they started with the vets, and of course the vets get paid. You know, they're selling the food, they're getting compensated for it, and so they created a really good network, strong network, new categories, and of course we were always upset about that, and we never could catch Hills, never could catch them. You know, then Iams came into it with Eukanuba, and we were always third place behind those guys with ProPlan. And to me, it's so you have this category that you think is a very mature category, and for another organization to come up with an idea of how do you get into that category and break in, I think it's pretty amazing, and that's what Blue Buffalo did. And another thing they did, as you can see on this slide, they started with vans, and they started with these, and you may have been exposed to them. If you've ever been to a PetSmart, in particular on the weekends, Blue Buffalo, we've got every store, we have Blue Buffalo associates that work there every weekend. Now they're part-time associates, but they come in, and they're not supposed to you know, tear down the competition or detract, or you know, that's not their goal or their mission. They're supposed to meet people, and they're supposed to talk about their pets and to start to talk about what's important in diet and what's important in nutrition. And then the goal, obviously, is to draw them into the Blue Buffalo product. But it's a pretty unique method again. I remember being with Purina and showing up at PetSmart on a weekend and trying to find the ProPlan, which was the premium line that Purina had, and I'd go in and I'm running into somebody trying to sell me Blue Buffalo, and that made me mad too. And it was like, so eventually you see how this is going. Eventually you can't beat them, join them, right? And that's what I eventually did. But you can see how we did this. We literally had vans. We believed in word of mouth, one-on-one marketing, talking to people, sharing what the formula, what the diet and the nutrition is, and that's what we did. So that's the start. So the next part now, you know, like I said, we're growing. We're growing. We're selling a super premium product. There's only so many manufacturers out there capable of making a product with the ingredient base that we have and the quality and food safety requirements that we have. So eventually, we got to a point where we had to make some decisions, and that's where Project Turtle, it's a code word, quite common, you know, you always have a code word. You got to have mix it, and we got rings too, secret handshakes. But Project Turtle began, and so you can see what's going on the next slide. Like I said, we've, you know, our co-pack network is, you know, you know, you could grow it, but then how do you grow it? You know, you're going to have to probably you know, fund capital and into someone else, and so that was one way of growing. Another way of growing, we could purchase an existing pet food manufacturer. But one of the things that's happened in pet food, and I've seen this with being with Purina for all those years and being in pet food, when pet food plants were built originally in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, they were built without you know, food. Who knew what was going to happen with food safety? You know, that just wasn't even you know, they were good plants. I mean, they're good facilities, but they weren't built with all the designs in place like now. And so, buying one, although it was an option, to get one that fits today's model that's not easy to do. There aren't many out there that fit today's business model. So the third one was build our own self-manufacturing facility, and that's what we went with. You know, basically, when you build a pet food plant nowadays, so much of it's zoning in the facility, and not just pet food, human food too. You want to have, there's typically a point in time. Every product has a food safety point. And where does that, and so you have raw ingredients. And so in pet food, typically extrusion, what we're doing is an extruded product. The food safety point is in the extrusion process with the preconditioning and the extruder. That's where you get the temperature that creates the kill for any microorganisms that might be in your raw materials. So the way the plant is set up currently is we have a raw and what we call a raw and a cook side. And literally how we have that set up is we've got different locker rooms, different entrances. People don't cross over back and forth. So what happens is, if you work on the raw side, you don't come over to the cook side because you don't want to potentially bring those microorganisms that haven't gone through the kill step, you know, over to the cook side. So that's why we came up with the design and we built a plant. We looked at, is it viable to have 3 or 4 extruders? And we considered several locations. Joplin, Missouri was one of the locations. Topeka, Kansas was one. There were several others. Joplin ultimately won out, and this is I've heard Bill Bishop say this personally, he likes the can-do attitude. The tornado played a big part in this choice because Bill Bishop really liked what was happening in Joplin with the can-do attitude, the rebuilding. He liked the spirit of the people here, and that played a huge part in the decision to come here. And so ultimately, we can go to the next slide. Here are the reasons. They're building a new interchange out by the industrial park out there off of I-44 that's going to be developed. That's a real plus for us as we become a full-service distribution center, which is our intent. Of course, we're very close to Route 71. Without a doubt, we received a lot of incentives, a lot of local and state incentives to come to Missouri. Missouri and the area, very manufacturing friendly, and so that played a big part. We had the right size. We could find land, and we could find it for the right price, and that played a big part in it. And then ultimately, what probably, like I said, is probably the biggest reason is we have the ideal type of workforce. I think we got a great workforce to pull from in this area. We're already seeing it. We're up to 35 associates already, and we're feeling very good about the associates that we're finding, so that played a big part in it. The design of the plant is that it's going to produce 30 million pounds per month, and we are going to be a 24/7 facility. Because of the growth of our facility, not the growth of the facility, the growth of the company, we are still going to be very heavily a co-manufacturing network as well. So we are going to continue to use co-manufacturers, but this is the start of our manufacturing history, really. So with a continued growth on, continued volume growth, a focus on food safety, and a strong commitment from our leadership team, Project Turtle was approved. Now we can go into the approval and the team. Along with key existing team members from our VPs of supply chain, finance, and engineering, we partnered and came up with a design, and we locked in. The focus of the Heartland plant was and is, to design a state-of-the-art premium pet food plant, with food safety and product quality being the forefront, like I've already been talking. We want the ability to produce 30 million pounds per month, and ultimately we want to produce the safest, best food in the marketplace. We have made some changes to the design over time. We originally were going to go with precast concrete building. We've now gone to a all metal panel structure. We did lock into 3 extruders versus 4 extruders. So we have modified the scope. We're still going to be around an $85–90 million project by the time we're done. And we did close on the 34 acres of land in 2012, and we had a groundbreaking in October 2012. Next slide. You can kind of see what the original Heartland team was. Billy Bishop, who I've already mentioned, he's the son of the founder and the current chairman of our company. Tom Donovan, one of our senior vice presidents of finance. Jane Buckowitz, Chu Lim, Keith Savage, who is from the area. Keith has been heavily involved in pet food over the years and is a vice president in charge of our co-manufacturing. And then Terry Mustard and Dan Comiskey, they are our representatives, our on-site leadership in Joplin. Terry Mustard's the site engineering, our vice president of engineering who's running the project, and Dan Comiskey's our vice president of finance on the capital side, who's in charge of keeping track of all the dollars and cents on the projects. We're working with 2 local companies. We're working with NEI Industrial Services, which is also, they're out in the industrial park with us. They're the engineering process team, and then we're also working with Branco, I believe they're out of Neosho, and they're working with us on doing all the construction. So they've been very good to work with. Once again, they're using a lot of local subs and that type of thing. So I think it's been a good boost to the local area and local economy. Next picture, you can kind of see, what the process was. We had a big. This was before my time. I wasn't with the team yet. I was about 6 months away from joining the team yet. But we had the groundbreaking, and you can turn to the next page. So then we jumped into the final design part, and let's talk about the final design, because this is what we're ultimately going to end up with. It's going to be it is a 412,000 square foot facility. It's literally half production, half distribution. We've got the 3 extruders, as I mentioned, 360 million pounds annually. We're going to do 24/7 manufacturing. With 4 crews, we're going to do 12-hour shifts, 2 day shift teams, 2 night shift teams. Warehouse in DC will hold 24,000 pallets of pet food. We've got 12 dock doors for loading and unloading. Ultimately we had 11 total building bid packages that were presented to us, but we ultimately came to the one we got. All our major processes and systems have been purchased and are on site right now. We're within 2 months of opening first commissioning runs. Of course, we made down payments. We paid our bills. We got the money out there, and we got early delivery of equipment to do everything possible to make sure we hit our timeline targets. So now the Heartland design. You can kind of see the artistic rendition of what the design was. Look at the next page. This is the front of the facility as you're on 32nd. You've got the offices, and then as you go down, you've got different employee entrances for what I was describing earlier. You have a locker room and break room for raw side. You have a locker room, break room for cook side, and then of course you got our office areas too. Next picture. This is another view from the front. Off to the far side out there, you see those 3 doors. That's going to be where our bulk unloading is. Those are, one of them will be a stall where we bring in our bulk liquid. We'll be able to close the doors and contain. And we've got 2 bulk unloading for truck for whatever bulk ingredients we're bringing in, bulk dry ingredients. The first building, you see the Heartland up on the big grain elevator. That's exactly what that is. There's 25 bins in there that are going to hold bulk raw materials. The building in the front, the other high part of the plant, there's 8 bulk silos in there, and those bulk silos can also hold dry ingredients. We can unload. We're going to have the capability of unloading pneumatically. We're going to have the capability of unloading a drop trailer, bulk, like a center drop trailer where it drops into augers. We're going to have bulk liquids. We can go to the next slide. So now it becomes a reality. And you can see where this is pretty close to where, this is fairly current. This is about where we're at. So you can see we've got basically the entire facility is structurally done. We haven't put the panels on yet on the area there to the left. That's where the bulk silos are inside there. But you can see the front office, and you can see the, pretty much as you look at this to the right is all the warehouse. So pretty much it flows, the process flow starts with bulk unloading. As you look at it, it's that area out to the left. And then it literally, the process just carries right on through from left to right and ultimately gets to the warehouse. The next slide shows the backside. The backside, as you look at the left, those 12 doors are our primary shipping doors. That's where we're going to be doing most of our outbound shipping. You've got another 4 dock doors that are, you can see there, that are the next 4 in. Those 4 doors are going to be primarily for incoming products. We're finished goods. We're also, we're partnering with a number of co-manufacturers, several of them in the area, and we plan on eventually bringing in finished goods from those sites into our facility and then doing a outbound direct shipment to PetSmart Petco. and our other big customers. Currently, just as an FYI, we have 2 distribution centers as a company, one of them in Omaha, Nebraska, and one in Monroe, Ohio, which is by Cincinnati. And those are all run by, those are third-party logistics companies that run those for us. And so this will be the first, once again, Blue Buffalo run distribution company, distribution site. And that's the site. You know, we're in the process of you know, like I said, we've got about 35 associates hired. We're targeting 152 is where we're going to be when we're fully staffed. We're working on, you know, basically we're going to be working on bringing people in waves that ultimately will finish right around the end of this year. We should be about locked in on who we're bringing in. The last group will start after the first of the year, but we'll have them locked in and interviewed and hired hopefully before the end of the year. So as I mentioned, the 30, you know, we're going to start running and producing for the first, in July, we're going to start our commissioning process, and we're going to be commissioning diets in July and August. First saleable product in September. We're targeting hopefully 3 million pounds of saleable product in September, and then we're going to ramp up from there and over October, November, December. And then into the first 3 months of next year, we're still going to be ramping up, ultimately, hopefully hitting our target of 30 million pounds per month in April of 2015. So that's kind of our hiring plan. And with that, I think that's about all I have. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Yes? We're going to have about 150 inbound trucks per week, and conversely, about 150 outbound is literally about how it works. So there's going to be about 300 trucks, so a lot of volume, That interchange will be, yes, that interchange, yes, we need that interchange. And that really is that was a big part of the decision again, because when you start having that kind of truck volume, obviously it's going to impact those streets and our neighbors, and so obviously we'll be a better neighbor when that interchange is in place, that's for sure. Any other questions? I am going to misspeak. I bet you somebody in here probably knows better than me. I have heard the dates on it, but I honestly don't remember. And does anyone in here know? No? I want to say it's within 12 to 18 months, but I might be wrong on that. Like I said, I round kind of funny. Well, basically, and I didn't mention that a lot, but a lot of the raw materials, another reason for the location, of course, in the Midwest and in this type of area, we're very close to our raw material sources. And I would say yes, we're, plenty of raw materials in the area that meet the caliber and the quality that we use. We don't use too many grains in our products. We use rice, and we do use some oats. But we don't really use, some of you, and I don't, we don't use corn, we don't use soy. There's different controversies on what's good and what's bad for pets and what's, positive or negative. Some of you might be watching the news. Some of you may have heard about some things that are going on with Blue Buffalo right now. In terms of, Nestle Purina, ironically, has put a lawsuit on us. They're going after us. So, so we're kind of in the mix on some stuff right now, but we don't use grains, we don't use byproducts. So that's where we're at. Go ahead. We do. I haven't mentioned that. Yeah, I like to see what people know. Well, right now, one of the things we're doing with PetSmart. We're doing so well in PetSmart that they literally have given us, and if you go to PetSmart and if you by chance shop there, And if you go to the store in Joplin, you'll see that we now have the entire aisle. We've got 52 feet of, we've got more shelf space in PetSmart than any other pet food company by far. And cat, we've got like 28 feet, 32 feet, something like that. And then that's not counting our treat sections, which are also very large. So one of the things we've done is we have gotten into exotics. We've gone into, we've taken our wilderness line in particular has done very well. Some of you may have seen the commercials. We have done a ton of advertising. And we've promoted our wilderness product very well, and we've expanded it into Rocky Mountain recipe, of which we're using bison, and then we've also, we've recently gone into rabbit, and of course we got duck, and wild boar, and you name it. Just you know, and I don't know how you go get all that stuff, but but apparently it's out there. So, Arkansas, there you go, Arkansas, there you go. So we are doing. We're also on the treat side. We've done a lot of things. You may see we've got elk antlers that are out there in the that are in the treat area. My dogs love them. I had no idea that dogs would like antlers like that, but they do. And at least I actually have two dogs. One of my dogs, Dolly, she loves the antler, and I have a dog named Blue, and I know you're going to think I'm a real suck-up. But I actually had the dog Blue before I joined the company. Okay? I promise you. I didn't name it Blue after I joined the company. Yeah. No, Blue's been around, but my Blue doesn't like the antlers, but my other dog does. And we're also coming out with tons of different treat formats. We're coming out with tendons are coming out. We're coming out with freeze-dried treats. I mean, all kinds of stuff coming out in the treat category market. We haven't done that. Are they? There you go. Okay, there you go. Yeah, I'm not on the product development side, but we do have over 200 new SKUs coming out this year, which is like unheard of. You know, this company, one of the cool things about our company is we don't operate, like I've worked in the big companies, and big companies it's almost impossible to make anything happen fast. You know, it's like it ain't gonna happen fast. Like you have an idea, and it can be a great idea, and you kind of get exhausted before you get started because you know you're not ready to fight the good fight, you know, and it's got to go through. And Blue Buffalo doesn't work that way. We move fast. Go ahead. Uh-huh. That one's a tough one because by the time we get up, the growth patterns are already, we will end up producing approximately half of Blue Buffalo's volume by the time we're at full speed in April 2015. So we'll still be producing another 30 million pounds of dry pet food in the co-manufacturing network. And that's not counting canned, and that's not counting treats. You know, we got some of our good partners are from Hampshire here. That's not counting biscuits. That's not counting. You know, so there's a lot of, and now Hampshire, of course, is right here in the 4-state. We got Day 6, which is in Baxter Springs, a brand new enterprise that's starting up that we're using them to produce a number of our cat diets. We've got Triple T Foods in Frontenac, Kansas, which is not that far from here, obviously, and we use them to produce a large amount of our food. So to be honest with you, I don't know what between Day 6, Hampshire, Triple T, and us. I'm not sure how much. You know, we'll be over half. We'll be over half of the business is going to be produced right in this area. So, well, thank you. I sure appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. And if anybody has any questions later, I'd be happy to try to answer. Okay.
Give a nice round of applause for Todd.